Hello, sorry about the delay. Technical problems, but we're here. So welcome to my book launch party. And especially if you're watching this in catch up, do pop a comment down and let me know who you are, when you watched it. Anyway, it's brilliant to be here. And I hope it's not too dark. I've done my best, but it was a bit of a last minute thing. My browser didn't like my camera, and then my browser didn't like my microphone. I like my camera and my microphone, but yeah, my browser disagreed. So hey, we're here. So today is finally the release date of Beyond the Hills. Now, a lot of you have heard quite a lot about it already, because there's been an amazing book tour, and I've been so happy with it. I basically asked friends and people around me, did anyone want to be part of a book tour or a blog tour? And 10 people came forward in a really quick time as well, which is really nice. It's always a bit worrying if nobody comes. That's just sad, isn't it? But hey, lots of people came. So we had this amazing book tour, which finished yesterday, because I wanted like 10 sessions leading up to today. And it's been amazing. And I'm just saying hello to Sarah, all the way from France. Hello, Sarah, good to see you. I can see Kelly and some of the others. So do say hello. Hello, Sophia. Again, Sophia was one of the amazing writers on the book tour. And Elizabeth, all the way from the States. Guys, I'm feeling quite famous now. That's me with my international book release. That's been brilliant. Hello, Katie. So good to see you. And it's just so nice to see you all. I just wish, we could do it in the garden apart from it's raining, so not good, is it? Hello, Catherine. I hope your ferrets are watching, because that would really make my day. It's better than infamy. I know. In Holland, they say a bad name is better than a good name, because a good name you'll lose really quickly, and a bad name you'll keep forever. So there's that. But yeah, I'm sure being famous is better than infamy. That's a bit sad, isn't it? So I was just telling about the book tour that we've had, and it's been really interesting, because when you write, you have your own ideas and the things that you like and don't like, and the things that you feel are highlights in a book. Sorry, Elizabeth. And when somebody else writes about it, they come up with things that really spoke to them, which is different from what you intend. And that's just so interesting. So I just love, I've seen a lot of book tours and things, and I love it because we're all so different when we pick up on different things. Now, there is always the pronunciation thing. So in Beyond the Hills, I caved into my editor is amazing. And I caved in, and we made a pronunciation guide. Now you can see the Elabi pronunciation guide. And I don't know how helpful people find that. I'm probably dreadful, because normally when there's a pronunciation guide or the who's who in a book, I don't really look at it. Is that awful? Probably is, isn't it? Because I don't really care. I was going to say I don't care. I do care, but I don't really mind. I really don't mind how you say the names, but and a lot of them I'm probably saying wrong, because I based the names on Latin words, and I use the Latin word to reflect their character or their lack of character. And then I twisted it into like a name sounding word, and I don't speak Latin. Miss Google was my help there, so I don't know how to say that. I've got a bit of an idea. I can make it up. I've got a good Latin imagination. So the main character in this book, I pronounce it as Matsia, but I'm not going to be cross with you if you say it in a completely different way. It's totally up to you. I really don't mind. Because I find often, because I read quite fast, so I don't always take that much note of names. So that's just me. So yeah, Matsia is the main character in this one. Now Matsia came forward a little bit in Walled City. For those of you, Walled City was the first one. And she came in there, and she wasn't very nice there. She isn't that nice in here either, to begin with, at least. And when I was writing Walled City, I was like, she has a very tragic backstory that we find out in Walled City. So that sort of, it makes her a very interesting character. I was wondering how the tragedy in her life would affect her now, years later. And, is that why she's such a unkind character? So I wanted to write a book about her. Now I'm going to I should have been better organized, but that was me fighting with, arguing with Facebook over whether I allowed my camera to work or not. And I should be able to find it quite easily, because there's a little piece, because it's funny where you get ideas from and inspiration. I mean, there is so many places, isn't there? And I'm thank you, Sophia, for the warning. I'm so aware of spoilers. I do quite a lot of reviewing, and it's the hardest thing, because you want to say the scene I liked the most was, and then you're like, can't say that, can you? Because so you have to say there's a scene in the middle of the book that was my absolute favourite, and hopefully people know which one it is. But this one, I try not to make any spoilers. But this was really the setup for the book. I know everyone is different. A lot of people start with characters. So I started with, I'm probably going to do maths here. But I was at this Writers' Day, and I'm a member of a wonderful organisation, and a lot of them are here, which shows how wonderful the organisation is, and it's called Association of Christian Writers, and they organise Writers' Days, and I can't wait to be together again. I mean, we've had amazing ones on Zoom, I'm not saying that, but I went to, probably not the last one we had, because I think we had one more, but we had one in London, and it was a very interesting one. It was about like hymn writing and songwriting and poetry, which is really not my thing, because you're so limited in words and you have to actually think about the words that you're going to use rather than just write what you feel like writing, which is more my style, and then my editor will get rid of it if it's awful, so that's fine. But with poetry, it's like, which word do I choose? Anyway, they gave us this little exercise, and we were talking about Colossians, and it was Colossians 1, which is really by him were all things created, and all powers and principalities, and he's above all of them. And then we had to write something about it, and like I said, I don't really do poetry, and they didn't say it had to be a poem or anything. It's just write whatever you want to write. So most people there came up with really beautiful things, like a little devotional or really beautiful poems and songs, and I came up with someone running away. So this is a little scene that I wrote, and I didn't have the name in there because I didn't know who was running away. But by the time I finished with this little chunk, I knew it was going to be book 2 in the Elabi Chronicles, and I think I'd finished Walled City, or at least almost finished it. So I was wondering, is it the main character from Walled City, or is it somebody else, or what is going on, and where are they running away from? Because Elabi is not a very big place, but there's different places you could run away from. So this is the thing. So this is what I wrote, and I think I did it even with he, because I didn't know, it's like it. So this was the piece that I did then, and then it ended up in here. Matsia can feel the fear growing in the vein on the side of her head, drumming on her temple. She swallows, in cadence with her pulse reciting in her head, "By him were all things created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible." She shuffles back, noiselessly, her feet never leaving the ground, millimetre by millimetre, her right hand slightly extended behind her, anticipating the rough stone walls. Yes, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. She can sense the wall just behind her, her eyes desperately trying to pierce the darkness, and the tiniest whisper in her head says, what if it's all those together? These dominions, powers, principalities, the lot? What if the whole world is against you? So that's what I did on that day, and I knew it was going to be the next book, but where in the book? So I'm not telling you where it is in the book, but it is in there. So the piece that I did on the Christian Writers' Day got in, and that's really, I knew it was going to come, but not where. And I found out whilst I was writing. So that's a little bit. Now, there is some backstory back to Walled City, but not very much, because I read a lot of series to my children, and there is a lot of series where you get like almost a whole chapter going on and on and on about what happened the last time, and introducing all the characters, and you're like, and it's fine if it's the second book, you go like, oh yeah. But when it's like the 5th time you're reading, or the 6th time, and I'm like, oh, really? You know, we know the characters, you know, it's like, But I can't skip it because one of my sons sits next to me. So if I skip it, he's like, oh, you missed a paragraph. So I have to read every word. Occasionally I cheat. If there's something I don't want to read out, I sort of hold my hand over the page so my son can't see that I'm hiding a line, and I hope to get away with it and turn the page quickly and, escape that way. But the whole paragraph introducing characters, I would not get away with that. So when I write, I don't really want to go over and over and over, like, describing all the characters. So I've done a little bit, and I was hoping it would be all right. And, from what people have said, it seems to be okay, it just about works. So it starts early in the morning, and it sort of introduces Matsia. The first light casts grey shadows as Matsia pads to the window, yawning. She sees the snow and thinks the strange light makes it look earlier than it is. She walks to the kitchen, needing something to eat before hitting the gymnasium. The timing of breakfast in relation to her workout is crucial. Too late and she will feel sick. Too early, she will run out of energy. She eats, her eyes looking around a neat, spacious kitchen, devoid of personal touches. A tiny memory creeps in of warm smells, laughter, flowered surfaces. She chews down hard, not just on the food, but the memory. She prefers the kitchen this way, efficient, easy to maintain, and straightforward. Walking back to her room to get ready, she passes the doormat. The grey light streams across it, highlighting an unexpected cream rectangle. Matsia bends over, surprised by the envelope, and even more surprised when she sees her name written across it. To Matsia, it says in clear handwriting. She picks up the sealed envelope, turning it over in her hand, having recognised the handwriting immediately. It must have been delivered in the night. Matsia went to bed late last night to finish a school project she needed to get just right, determined as she was to finish school with good grades to maintain her status. The envelope had not been on the mat last night. It is still very early. Fear fills her mind, and she almost flings the letter away. Cecilia had been acting strangely lately. Matsia almost felt drawn to the new-found peace Cecilia displayed, but no, the joy and warmth that accompanied it smacked too strongly of the sort of erratic, emotional response that could get you into trouble. And now a letter delivered in the middle of the night. Matsia had been planning to report Cecilia's odd new manner to the council, and is anxious she is too late. Would this letter implicate her as well? By far the safest course of action now is to send it to the council unopened. And yet she hesitates and feels the creamy paper, wondering what is inside. It feels quite thick. It is a letter addressed to her from a classmate who, she must admit, she hesitates to report to the council, and she feels the personal significance of it. Before she can consider the implications of the emotional bond, Matsia uses her thumb to slice open the envelope, pulling out the contents while slowly walking up the stairs. She can always send it to the council when she knows for sure it is something unhealthy. There is a folded letter, inside of which is a small bundle of thin paper. Matsia looks at it briefly, intrigued by the odd thinness of the paper with its minute letters. She looks at the rough brown paper letter, the writing large and sprawling. Sinking on her bed, she unfolds the paper, noticing that it's the first use of the sheet. Who would send somebody a letter on new, unused paper? What a waste. She looks at the letter. My dearest friend, it says. And Matzia gasps, what? She looks at the words again, her nose wrinkled up, something hard growing inside. My dearest friend? Who would say that? Anyway, that's the introduction. But I gave Matzia a love of Jim's like my own, Anita. But the only thing is Matzia is a lot better at it than I I'm at it. I'm not as regular as her, but then there's not as much pressure on me to be physically perfect. Maybe if I had that kind of pressure, I would do it every day as well. But I don't. And she's younger than I am. I'm blaming it on that. She's like 20 or 21. So that's the beginning of Beyond the Hills. And I actually struggled a little bit with it because there's a lot of time with just Matzia, and it wasn't as fast-paced and scary, not scary, but like action-packed as Walled City, where it's hacks and he's like sneaking into the country or into the city, and there's a lot more talk with other people, whereas this one was a little bit more limited. But I think it's okay. I enjoyed it. So what I did, I introduced like a diary so that there would be some interaction, but not with a person as such. I mean, later in the book there is a lot of interaction, but especially at the beginning bit, because she's reading this letter and that leads to other things. So that's the start of Beyond the Hills, and I'm sort of planning the next one because there's so much to explore in Elabi, and I like it because it's like a made-up world. It allows you to explore different themes that might be like hard if you placed it in England, because you would be more limited in time and space and what you can and cannot do. And Joy says that she loved the slower pace, maybe because I'm old. Yeah. It must be showing my age too, Joy, because I liked it. And I think the thing is that I didn't want to rush her, because I didn't want her to be changed overnight, because I don't think that's very realistic. But then it takes time, and then I mean, we took out huge chunks of. So again, I was like, oh, not again. So both my editor and I got a bit like, well, she's, this is taking a little bit too long. Maybe just take another chapter, half a page out. We just condense it. But it worked, and especially with the diary, it really helped, because I wanted to bring out her thoughts of it a lot. And Catherine says Matzia doesn't make friends. She's very self-confident, but I guess that's going to crack during the book. It's quite a hard thing, I think, because Matzia had this trauma as a child, clearly to do with the mother, as she can even tell in the first chapter. There's something that's gone wrong there, memories that she's stamping on. And I think, like with all memories, there's only so long you can keep them down. They will come out. So you can be very self-confident and have no friends and not be reliant on anyone. But I still feel that that's only so long you can keep that up, because it's going to affect you. And especially if things happen, or you're being challenged in a way, or you're thinking about something, then you just wish there was someone you could talk to, and discuss things with, or someone who could show you how to do this, or people to share with. And I think especially when you're like really happy or really sad, or there is something that, like an incident, I think we need people. And I think that's sort of come out quite a lot this year, where you can talk to people on Zoom, and it's wonderful. I mean, we have, with the Christian writer group, I've set up like weekly chats just to talk and laugh and drink together and have cake together, and just some of us even showing ferrets and all that. It gets quite intriguing. but it's not quite the same as sitting in a very quiet coffee shop with a friend, even if it's maybe, there are no ferrets, so that's a minus straight away. I'm sure Catherine agrees with this. But it's different when you can actually like feel the person, even if you're not touching. I know hugs are allowed, aren't they? But yeah, so I think there's still a difference, and I think Matsia finds that where she's like, I don't need anyone. I've got everything. I've got a plan for my life. I don't need people. People let you down. I think you can only keep that up for so long. And Anita's saying that repression is an unhealthy thing. It usually comes back to bite you in the bum later. Yes, it does, because it happens a lot. And I can see it sometimes, especially with my older children, where my daughter especially doesn't really want to talk about emotions or adoption, and it's a hard topic, and then it will come out, because you can't be happy all the time. It's not going to happen. And I think that comes out in Matsia, that she's very self-sufficient and everything, but then when she's starting to think, she keeps thinking, I wish I could talk to someone about this without the trouble that comes with that. So I wanted to show that, and I wanted to show that, certain, like changing your mind and changing your whole mindset, it takes time, and I think quite often, especially I think as Christians, we can think that, we can just talk to someone or give someone a tract, or, and they'll change their mind on the spot, and then they don't, and it takes like 10 years, and you're like, all that time, why didn't you believe me straight away, sort of thing. And I think that's the thing. It's like, things take time, and when people have a certain mindset or a way of thinking, it's not going to change. I mean, it can, that's the thing. There's always disclaimers, isn't it? Obviously it could change overnight, but very often we find it takes time. So I wanted to bring that out in Matsia, that it takes time. And Sophia says dystopian writing helps writers to explore their thoughts. The diary really helped as well. Thank you. Yeah, it does, because I think if you make it a bit dystopian, it's like it's exaggerating. It just makes it clearer, I think. And Catherine says, I think a book about happiness struggles would be really good too. Yes. Well, there's Downstream, which is my next project. So there's a lot going on there. And yeah, there could be a lot of happy people, but then you feel really bad, don't you? When you're so happy, you sort of feel guilty, really, or you think, is it too good to be true? We often think that, don't we? If things are going really well, you think, where's the big crash coming, or when? And Elizabeth said, such a habit to simply push things away, and we forget that the work of becoming is a peeling back, challenging, retreating, and trying again. I think you're absolutely right, Elizabeth. I think that's the thing, isn't it? But it's quite painful, isn't it? I love there's a scene in one of the Narnia books. I think it's The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, where that really annoying boy gets turned into a dragon, and Aslan has to peel off layer after layer after, and it hurts, but it's like a nice feeling in a way as well, because it's like a healing feeling, but it's painful when and there's another layer, and then underneath that is another layer. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? So I think often we start picking at the top layer, and I think, no, it's going to hurt, and then you find out there's another layer underneath. Think, let's just pretend it's not there. But like Eustace, he had to get rid of those layers, and I think that's a really good way of looking at it. But it makes it interesting too, because you can explore all those layers. I've already got that going. Yeah, I have got Downstream going a bit. I don't want to give things away, because I don't always know where my book is going to go, so I don't want to make any false promises, and then people are going to say, oh, but I thought you said. But obviously there's Matsia's mother, and there's Matsia and Hax and Cecilia, and I really like them, and I want them back in a story. So I don't want to say too much. I hate spoiling things for people, because I know some people really hate spoilers. I mean, I wouldn't really mind, because I'm writing it anyway, so I don't really care. But I don't want to spoil it for someone who doesn't like spoilers. But there's also Matzia's sister, who's just had a little baby boy called Brutus. So it's like a mini Brutus. So I have a story in mind there. So that's probably going to be I don't know, book 4 or 5, who knows? Which is why I've called it the Elabi Chronicles, because I was like, I can't call it a trilogy because I can think of so many more things. Oh, thank you, Sophia. Well, the thing is that, I mean, a lot of them have been in the works. I mean, this one, I wrote the first half in, where are we now? I lose count. The first half was 2019 for the NaNoWriMo. And I got halfway, and then I was doing other things because I was finishing off Walled City, and I was writing Viking Ferries, and then that needed sorting out. And so then last NaNoWriMo, I finished this one. And Catherine, yes, I really want to meet Matzia's mother, and there is her little baby brother as well. So who's no longer a baby brother because he's like, I don't know, was it 10 years ago? That's the thing. You need to always keep track of all the details, like what people look like, colour of the eyes, colour of the hair, names, because at one stage I couldn't remember if Tima, Matzia's sister, I couldn't remember if she's had a baby boy or a baby girl, and I was like, what was it? And I was like, I could just say baby and keep it very generic, but I looked back and it was a boy. I was like, okay, that's fine, you know, nephew. And then there's like all the little things, you know, the ages and the years and things like that. And Catherine Owen said, will you include any ferrets? Yeah, there might be ferrets. That'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? Do boys like ferrets? Are they good pets for boys, I suppose? I mean, you know, my kids, a ferret would have to have, like a cat, like 9 lives, I think, if they want to make it to adulthood. Otherwise, I mean, my kids would probably, they might not, but yeah, they might just sort of love them to death a bit, you know, and they get hugged all the time, or chased, or shrieked at, or laughed at. Okay. Sheila says, how long do you spend editing each book? I only ask because I'm self-editing a novel at the moment and finding it very tedious. Now, I can't edit for toffee. I really can't. I don't even know where to start. So my idea of editing, I check, because I write in chapters, because that just helps me. So I just sit down and I type in chapter 23, and then I check on my, because I print out each chapter when I'm done, because otherwise you have to read on the screen, and then you know, I don't. So I print it out. So I flick through the previous chapter and I see what, you know, the last paragraph, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that bit. So then I write chapter 23 and I just start wherever it is. You know, the story just picks up and I just bash away. There's no stopping, no thinking. There's just, you know, I don't think about words like, oh, what's the best word? It's just, I just write, and then that's it. I stop and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I check the word count and there's like 3,000 words. I'm like, yeah, that'll do for a chapter. And then I look back to the beginning of the chapter and I get rid of all the little zigzag red lines. And then I do read it through, because sometimes, you know, it might be a real word. So my Word document thinks it's fine and I don't think it is. So I read through to make sure that it makes sense and that there's no missing bits as far as I can tell. Then I stick it through Grammarly, which is like an app. So I've got it in Word, so it's easy. I just open it and it scrolls through. And that gets rid of a lot of commas and adds commas and things. Then I get rid of most of my exclamation marks because I know my editor will get rid of the rest. I get rid of most of them. The ones I really like, I'll keep in place. And she might leave them in place. Occasionally she leaves them in. I'm like, yes, we've got another exclamation mark in the chapter, hurrah. And then that's me done. And then once the whole document's done, the whole book is done, I'll sort of work through it again, you know, double check, read again, change things because further on in the book there's been changes, that kind of thing, until I'm quite happy with it. Then I have it printed off and bound because it's easier for my editor, and I drop it round and she'll go through it, and she gets rid of all my exclamation marks, and she'll find words that or I've used the same word like 6 times in a paragraph, and she's like, yeah, you might want to change your words a bit. And then she'll get rid of whole paragraphs that she says, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but you don't actually need it, so cut it out. And I don't tell her that, you know. I spent my free evening on that. I mean, it's fine. It does make it better, because when she takes it out, I'm like, it is so much better. I am glad she took it out. So I think with this one, in the first round, we lost like 10,000 words, which is fine. It was like massive chunks, really big chunks, and that's fine, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't structure. I don't plan. I just imagine the scene. So once I've written down the chapter heading number, I'll see what happens. I mean, I've got a bit of a idea, you know, like that passage that I read out to you that I wrote at the Christian Writers' Day. I knew it was going to come in somewhere, but I wasn't sure where. So I had that. I now make a bit of a character profile. So, you know, things about them that are annoying and things that I do like and their favourite things, but that's quite limited. And I'll just see. I sometimes have a bit of an idea, but this one, I sort of knew a bit what I thought was going to happen to her. But a lot of it took me by surprise. I was like, okay, we can roll with that. That's fine if you want to do it that way. So I check it, and then my editor checks it, and I get it back with red pen, or you know, sometimes there's like 4 different colour pens. So I take all that out and change the bits, and sometimes she has like, you know, explain this. Like I know in Sapphire Beach, she got out of the bus station, and suddenly she's looking at paintings, and then in the sidelights she'd written where, and I was like, where? I don't know where, like an art gallery or something. So we added it in. So she finds things like that, and she changes words around, because I like words like wonderful and amazing and great, but you can't use the same one all the time. So we get rid of that and change that. And then when I'm done, and whilst I'm doing that, I might look at things that I'm like, you know what, that could actually go to, or you know what, this line, I know she's left it in, but actually we don't really need it. So I do that. Then I print it off again, and she gets it back, and then we lose another couple of thousand words, and I get it back, and I'll stick it through Grammarly again and read it again, and then hopefully, and then I put it in the formatting thing. Now this time, those of you who were kind enough to be my advanced reader people, you had like the advanced reader copies, and my formatting software thingy on the internet went completely mad on chapter 22. I don't know what the thing don't know what it did, but it was slightly crazy. There were like so many mistakes, which I'm pretty sure weren't there in the original. So yeah, so that's the thing. But that's how I do it. And yeah, Sophia, you're right. I'm a pantser, so I just make it up as I go along. Sometimes I know what might happen like within the next couple of chapters. But I had it once where I had like a plan, and then I found that the chapters before that were really rushed because I just wanted to get to this really exciting bit. So I try to avoid that because I want to enjoy the journey rather than get to scenes that I like, because I think that just pushes it too fast. And that's just me. I know some people really plan, but I couldn't, because then it's really hard to be in the moment with the character and let the character decide what they want you to do. So I don't really plan. I'm a bit more into planning than I was at the beginning. So at the moment I'm working on some really weird novel. It's fun, but it's about teenagers, and there's like underground dwellers, and they steal people because they need fresh DNA because of inbreeding, and it's all very, very much fun. And I've sort of not planned it, but there's like certain things that I know will happen. So we'll see. But that's a bit for fun, really, because it's a completely different way of writing, because it was in the first person and it's in the past. I never write in the past because I don't know happened. I'm writing in the present because I'm walking along with the character, so I can't say, oh, she did this, because she's doing it in the moment. So I find that really hard. But I was like, I would like to try that, so I'm trying it, and it is actually good fun. So that one has got a little bit more of a plan, and it's called Burrowed because they live like in underground, so it's called Burrowed. But that's my style of writing and my style of editing, and I think because my editor is really good and she knows me, and she gets my writing, so she knows where I want to go with it. So she knows which bits can easily go and which bits I might want to change but not take out. And I think that's really important. If you find an editor, that you find someone who knows what you want to do with your books, rather than say, oh, that's not how we do it. Because, I don't know. I don't like the idea of like, this is the only way you can write. It's, you write what you want to write. It's a bit like art, isn't it? It's like, that's not how you hold a pencil, or that's not how you hold a brush. It's like, you hold a brush the way you want to hold it. So, but you need an editor who will help you with that. And Sophia said, what's my best aspect in producing your books? Probably opening the box when they're done. No, actually, that's quite a stressful moment, because I'm like, oh, what if nobody likes them? I actually like the sitting down and saying chapter 23. The first 5 or 6 chapters I struggle, because you get to like the last book and it's chapter 45 and chapter 46, and then you're like, chapter 1, you're like, oh, you have to start all over again. I'm not very patient, so by the time I get to chapter 12, 13, I'm like, oh, it's double numbers, we're getting somewhere with this. But I really like it because I just make up the stories. It's my own little, it's a bit like daydreaming but on paper. And I normally write when the kids are in bed, so it's quiet in the house and I can just sit and just be with the character. And it's one of the reasons that I love writing faith books, because I'm always wondering, well, what if? Or yes, but what about such and such? So you can make the characters, and you can give your characters a really hard time, because I can. And it's just a really relaxing moment. I just really, really like it, because you can just see people changing. And I mean, this one, the whole book is about the power of the word of God, and I just love to see that in the characters. And there's some other like fun characters that came in. My favorite is probably the bookshop manager called Chrabers. I just, he's not very nice, but I just enjoy writing him and imagining him stomping around. So it's what I love doing. And the other thing that I love doing is making the covers. So Walled City was a painting made by a friend, especially based on the book. And I was hoping she would do this one, but she's absolutely swamped. I mean, she's an amazing, amazing artist. So Beyond the Hills, I did myself. I didn't paint it, I hasten to add. But there's this amazing software, which is a lovely time-eating piece of software called BookBrush, and it's an amazing website. It's brilliant. So what I did, I just layered different painting type pictures that you can get for free from Pixabay, and then I had a character. You can fiddle around and then you add the letter type. So I did like that. I really enjoy that, just to sort of get it right. And then Sophia, I do the Amazon one. It's a KDP or KDP, isn't it? That's just for here. So I did the ebook on there, and then got the paperback ready, because otherwise you can't do like a pre-release sort of thing, pre-ordering. And then I go to Ingram Spark and I upload there, and that allows you to sell in any bookshop worldwide, any place, anywhere. So I do the two, and Ingram Spark also allows you to do like a pre-release thing. So I set the pre-release up there, and then like this morning I just uploaded Amazon paperback, and that way people can order it on Amazon, and they can order it in America, and they can order it in Japan and everywhere. And then I just order like a big box myself, so I can do like signed copies, which I really like. Yes, Kathy, I did a cover myself. It's a bit of a fiddle because I want to get it right, and I'm always really worried because I'm not an artist, and I'm not that good at art either. I just know what I like, and I think that's one of the things I like about self-publishing, because if you go with a publisher, they have like really clever arty people who just come up with a picture, and most of the time they will ask you like, are you happy with this? But even if you say no, I'm not really happy with it, they're like, well, we're happy with it, so that's fine. I'm not happy, and there's nothing you can do. So I love doing it myself, and just moving things around until I'm happy. But it is a bit of a fiddle, and I'm sure if it was someone who actually knew what they were doing, they would maybe make an even better job of it. But I do like knowing that I've done it myself, and I've had a lot of joy out of that. And I think, don't want to be selfish to all you guys. I mean, it's amazing that you're here, and I'm really, really appreciative. And I love it when someone says, "Oh, I read your book," and I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing." But I write for my joy and for my blessing, and I want to share my joy and my blessing, obviously. But I feel if I like skip my joy or skip my blessing just to please other people, that would actually make me a bit sad, because I'd be like, but it's my book and it's something that I like doing. So I do my own cover and I like it. So I mean, it's nice. Yeah, I love the comments I've had so far on different reviews and everything. You know, that's just so amazing. But it's really like a sort of crowning blessing, because I just love doing what I'm doing. It's a double blessing in a way, you know, that I've had so much fun writing about Matzia. I mean, she was, especially at the start, she was not my favorite person in Elabi. But, you know, her journey was just amazing. And so there's all that writing and learning about it and going with her. And then there's like fiddling with the colours and the covers and designing and then making it. And then you get this box with books, and I'm like, oh. So I really enjoyed that. And it's been a blessing, because it's my free time. You know, I homeschool my kids, and you know, we deal with a lot of their early years traumas, and that's fine. But it's quite time consuming and it's energy eating, which is fine. But this is like my own little corner, and I can do what I want in my little corner, you know. So I really, really love that. So that's my thing. And Justin says, have I got a favourite description that I've written? I loved the piece in Walled City where poor Slime dies. I don't know. I struggle a bit with description, because I like descriptions, but when I started reading books out to younger people, I chose my favourite book my first time, and I started, and then I realised that the entire first page was describing the sunset. It was nice, but trying to read it out to a huge bunch of 10-year-olds was just really, really hard work. So I sort of try and avoid that a little bit. The thing I liked in this one, I don't think that's really a spoiler, but Matzia learns paddleboarding. I've never done it. I'm planning to do it this summer, because I feel really bad now, because people are like, oh, it's so nice that you brought your paddleboarding hobby into it. I was like, yeah, I've never done it. I've seen it, but that's as far as I got. So I feel now I really have to try it out, because you know, just I can say, oh yeah, I love paddleboarding now. So I like describing that, where she goes out on the water and she's, you know, really happy, and she gets really excited about it. So that's probably my favourite one. Oh, thank you, Dawn. I know I sort of feel bad, because I don't want to be selfish in writing and saying, you know, I'm not listening to anyone. I am listening. But I I want it. I want to keep it my hobby, rather than a chore. And it's like, oh, this is what people expect. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. Sophia, yeah, countries where English is not their language, it should still be there. It's still in English. I don't translate. My family keeps asking, when am I going to do a Dutch version? I'm like, don't ask me. Translating, it's very detailed work. I'm not into details. Sorry, I'm not a very detaily type person. I'm more like, oh, I'll be all right, something like that. So translating is not my thing. But maybe someone will love it and someone will put it in, I don't know, Japanese. Who knows? I'm happy for it to be translated. And Catherine said, my granddad was an artist and he refused to paint what he knew would be popular and sell. He painted for himself. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes write articles and stories, especially now about adoption and things. And, sometimes I get asked, and that's, I love it. I like it, and I'm happy to do that. But when I do story things, that's just like my daydreams. And it's a bit like, you can only daydream what I'll tell you. That would be a bit awkward, wouldn't it? So it's a bit like that, I'm happy to write. If someone says, can you write a book about this, I'll be like, yeah, sure. I've just handed in a chapter for this amazing anthology that an incredible friend is setting up, and yeah, I love it, and if she comes back and she's like, you know what, 3/4 of it needs to be rewritten, I'll be like, yeah, sure, just let me know, and that's fine. But that's different, this is my little world. Yeah, so yeah, that's just the way I see it. Joy says, is your husband long suffering when it comes to your writing so much? Well, he does a lot of work on the computer in his study, and the writing takes me about 2 hours in the evening. So by the time he comes pottering around, I'm usually done. And if it's like Walled City, he was really, really into it. And he would be hovering the last half hour. Is it on the printer yet? Can I get it yet? So he would go down and get the papers from the printer. And even with Burrowed, he's read quite a lot because I print it off and he's like, oh, I'll read the next bit. So he's pretty long suffering when it comes to my writing. And when I write in the day, I don't write in the day as much because my kids are very happy and doing their own thing until I open up my laptop, and then suddenly their lives collapse and they're all dying with thirst and about to expire, and they're, yeah. So writing in the day is a bit sort of, a bit pointless because it's not going to happen. So I try to avoid it. Occasionally, like on a Saturday morning, we have this deal. The kids all get to choose a DVD or something on Amazon that they want to watch. And I get to write because they're all glued to this screen, so I'm glued to my screen, and they're fine with that. And my husband is fine with that. And love your work. Thanks for being there with your kids and writing to us. God, that's good. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for coming. That was my more teary moment in Walled City, says Catherine. Yeah, I know. It was so sad. I was like, oh. Yes, Sheila. Ingram Spark books, and they're written in English. They're available on Amazon sites in every country, but in English. But also, like, I know in the States is a Barnes and Nobles. That's like their big thing. So you can order it in because it's got like, all the ISBNs and everything. And the only thing is, if you only do it on Ingram Spark, then Amazon punishes you by making people wait like they say it's going to take 6 weeks. It doesn't always work. They usually do deliver it quite quickly, but they put funny things on the site. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. I do enjoy the self-publishing. You're homeschooling kids. Are you trying to create a world you love better for them? In a way. Also, I'm trying to prepare them to live in this world and to know that it's not a permanent place and that it's an important place, but not the most important place to live. Hello, Katie. Good to see you. So, with the homeschooling, because of their early years trauma, they do better in smaller settings and smaller groups. At the moment, they all have different classes and groups they go to. So I'm doing a lot of taxiing everywhere. Now, the good thing is quite often I have to wait for their class to finish. I get like an hour by myself. So one of my daughters has got a class in town with me. I do a lot of shopping. One of them has a class in a little towny village, not village, it's a bit bigger than a village, but it's small. And there's not much to do, which is great, because it means that I take my laptop and I write something, or I take a lot of books and I read, and I just relax for an hour, which is really nice. So I'm like, oh, I love my kids' classes. So that's where I fit some of my writing in, and it's great that way. But also it gives me time with them so we can deal with learning gaps, but also social and emotional gaps, which helps. So yeah, I love it, and but it's quite full on, and it makes it harder to do my own thing in the day, which is fine. I get to do I mean, they go to bed very early because they're just exhausted by the end of the day. So normally they're all in bed by 7:30. So then I go and write, which helps. And my daughter now does cadets, but quite often my husband will pick her up. So I still get to do my writing bit, which is really nice. Anyway, do you think it's time for cake? I've been watching this cake. You haven't, but I have. I have been watching this cake. And I'm not normally into cake, but there's cake and there's celebration cake, isn't there? So what I've done, I'll show you the cake. Ooh. So here is my kids love having edible books. They think it's great. So I humoured them, and we got a Beyond the Hills cake. Sorry, did you see that? It was quite low, maybe. There you go. And it's a cake. So I'm going to chop this with my very fancy cake knife. And here we go. I would love to share this with you guys. Like I said, I mean, if it was dry and sunny and hot, you could have all come up to Gloucestershire and joined me here, although obviously some of you are abroad. So I've got my bit of cake, so I'm sharing with you all, and I will give my kids some later. They're banking on cake, so it's going to be fun. Let me just check. What was my inspiration for having a place without emotions allowed? I don't know, because I was like world building, which was completely new to me, but I followed some friends on Instagram, and they did like a podcast series on world building, and it's brilliant. It really runs to all the details that you need in a way. I don't even know what made me do it. I think it was just because for a while I called it a utopian society, because they really thought they were better off that way. And I think it's just the idea that, when you look at problems in society, quite often it is an emotional response. I mean, a lot of marriages break up. It's like, well, we just didn't feel the love anymore. You think, really? So it's very emotion driven. So somehow I thought, if they had this chance and they misunderstood our hearts and the way we have been created, so they thought if we cut out all the emotions and we have a very logical, fact-based society, everyone will be really happy. And of course, we're not made that way, are we? We're not made that way. So here's my bubbly, which is my favourite. And as it's my party, I can choose it. And again, I would be happy. Look, I got you a big bottle, so I'm sharing with you all. So have a glass, as long as you're not driving. I'm not driving. I'm at home. So I'm having one, and I'm happily sharing with you all. So yeah, I just thought, I just wanted to play on it, and that was what I like about world building is when you design a world, you can try things out and change things the way you want it, just to see. And I think for me, writing is always, what if there was no emotion? What if there was no faith? I mean, there's obviously a lot of areas where faith is limited. But what if this, or what if that? So, and I think that's a really nice way for me to explore faith and to explore worlds and how things work and people's relationship. What if, and it is a great way, what if this character got really hurt? Or what if this character got, I think, I've opened a Jaffa cakes in your honour. Oh, cheers, Joy. I would share my cake, but congrats, the huge success of your books. Wish you well for amazing sales. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. And thank you for your wonderful review. So just toasting you all. Thank you so much for all coming along. And I hope you have something bubbly or something nice. I mean, even if it's a cup of tea or coffee, go for coffee. 1, 2, 3. Yay. Cheers. Oh, it's nice. It's my favourite drink. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, absolutely. Now, I did not bake it. No, there's a shop and you can take a picture and they print it off onto the cake, which my kids think is hilarious. And then you make it into the shape of a book. And yeah, my kids love it that you can make an edible book. So, which is great. Let me just... Oh. My kids. That's my kids. Their little electronic babysitter has failed in its duty. But hey, let me just check them for a second. Sorry about that. They're all right. And the babysitter is reinstalled. She's not going to get a pay rise, is she? Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. And thank you, Anita. Now, tell me what you're drinking. Tell me you have something to celebrate, because it's such a nice day. I know a lot of people think of, like a whole book and everything, but I think it's just nice. I mean, for me, the nice thing is to share it with others. And I think that's what this whole book tour has been in the last week, last 2 weeks even. Just other people's reactions, other people's views, and just sharing the joy of a new book, which has been fabulous. So anyway, cheers to you all. Now, let me know if there's any more questions, anything you want to know. I know I've kept you all for ages on a Friday afternoon. I had some elderflower fizz. Oh, I love elderflowers. Oh, did you make it yourself? We've got a big elderflower tree in the back garden. We keep thinking of doing it. I've just told my husband that he should have launched his new book. Maybe he still can. Yeah, I mean, you can still have a party. I mean, for Viking Ferry, it was out. And then we had a party because I didn't realise that on Amazon you couldn't pre-release a paperback. You can do it with the ebook, but not with a paperback. So I pressed the button and it was out. So it will be a second edition soon because, it wasn't finished editing. I just thought I'd get like a proof copy. So I'm just working on a second edition. Can I buy a copy from you directly? Yes, you can, Dawn. I've got a Facebook shop, but there's also my website. And if you buy directly from me, then I sign it, obviously, as well. And you have some real elderflower steeping. Oh, good. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I offer a discount there as well. But if you let me know in like a private message or something, then I'm happy to give you a discount as well. The book. The book. Thank you, Anita. Toasting your success with green tea. Oh, well done, Sarah. That sounds very healthy. Much healthier than this, but this is nice. This is very nice. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. So on my website, which is vicarioushome.com, you can order copies there. But there's also a direct link on my Facebook page with the Facebook shop where I sell them. So, yeah. Any other questions, things you want to know? I'm just watching the chat for a second. Not sure about all the numbers in here, but my kids will be nice and excited later, no doubt. Well, thank you so much for coming. Anyway, if any more things come up or you want to know something, I'm around. So thank you so much. You like the sound of the cake, you really deserve it. Thank you. Have a glass of elderflower fizz here to celebrate your launch. Lovely intro. Thank you, Sarah, that's so kind. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it, because I love this book. I love the Elabi series, which is why I really want to write more books set in Elabi, because it's a great place to try things out. And obviously I don't know what downstream will bring, but I've got a few ideas. So it's really nice that I've been able to share this with you all. So do drop me, especially if you're watching this on catch up, pop a comment in, and thank you all, and have a fabulous Friday afternoon, evening. Most of you probably afternoon, evening. And I will see you all very soon, and have a wonderful weekend too. And don't have too much of that bubbly. I don't think I'll finish the bottle today. It will take me a while. So have a lovely time, and thank you for coming.